Hey guys, welcome back to We Met at Acme. I'm so excited to be here with the host of the Psychology of Your 20s podcast, Jemma Sbeg. Hi.
Hi, thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being on. I just have to say, you have the voice, like you have the podcast voice.
Oh my gosh.
So I feel like people listening are going to be very soothed today.
Hopefully, maybe we can do some ASMR at the end. And
We should.
I'll send everybody to sleep.
Absolutely, we should. We'll just, conk them right out. Before we get started on all of the things and all of the questions I have, Jemma, what is your favorite romantic gesture?
This is so interesting. Me and my partner are doing long distance right now. Favorite ever or just right now?
I guess, isn't it kind of both? Like,
yeah, because I have like one in mind that he did for me that I was like, wow.
Okay, let's do
beautiful.
both answers.
I would say my favorite romantic gesture is like gesture is cooking me dinner.
Okay.
Like after a really long day, cooking me dinner. Most romantic gesture that he's, I don't know why I'm struggling with that word, that he has ever done for me was I was just having like a really, really hard week and came home from a flight, like a domestic flight, and he had like cleaned my entire place for me. He'd cooked me dinner, but he knew I needed alone time, so he'd just left it out for me. He'd got me flowers, and it was just like all of these acts of service. It was just all acts of service, and I was
love
just like,
that.
wow, really made my life easier. And
That's
then I was
amazing.
Like, come back over. I don't want to be alone.
Acts of service really does it for me too.
Yeah.
I have to ask, when's your birthday?
22nd of Feb, Pisces. Are you a Pisces?
I'm not. I almost just said I was a Virgo. I'm a Libra,
Oh.
but I have like a lot of Virgo placements. So Pisces are very like fun for me because we're so different usually.
That's interesting. So I'm actually a triple Pisces.
Whoa.
So I feel like that might be controversial, but someone told me that once.
I've never met a triple Pisces, so it's controversial in that you're very unique.
Yeah, well, I feel like anything that's like a triple is like, here we go.
Totally. I know a triple Scorpio and a triple Gemini.
Put us all in a room. Let's see what happens.
Wait, and a triple Sag. So yes, I will put you guys in a room and we'll see who comes out.
We could solve crime. Do something, right?
By dinner time.
Yeah.
So, and also Jemma, how old are you and where are you from? I know Australia, but specifically.
Okay, so I'm 24. I'm baby. And originally I'm from Queensland, but I now live in Sydney, which is, everybody knows Sydney.
Totally.
The Opera House, the bridge.
What's the pool with the
Bondi icebergs?
Yes, icebergs.
See, I actually, I was in LA earlier this month, and there are certain things where you're like, I know there is not a single local here. Like, I know there is not a single local staring like on the Walk of Fame with me right now. But Bondi icebergs is one of those things that like the locals actually do. That like I would really recommend if anybody's ever in.
I actually was there once.
Oh my gosh, did you like it?
I loved Australia. It was amazing. I went, I want to say like in 2013, 2012.
Okay.
It was before like the fires.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say it's a bit like different now.
Yeah, no, I've heard that. Well, we went to Hamilton Island.
Oh my gosh.
Which like was totally affected by everything. Yeah. And I don't even know if it's still like functioning the same way that it was.
It is. They rebuilt a lot of it. But there's like, this is so random. We're going to talk about the news. It's like fire season this year. Yeah. So like everybody I know is like got their fire safety plans like prepared for the worst because it's like El Nino. But it's kind of just the reality of A, like climate change, and B, living in a place like that.
Totally. And so you said you're in a relationship.
I am in a relationship.
And you're long distance.
Yeah.
Where are they?
A month. It's been a month now.
Okay.
They're in, actually it's still mid distance. So they live in Wollongong. I'm going to try and put that in like terms. They live like 2 hours away.
Okay.
So they live in Wollongong. I live in Sydney. So it's still like, it's a travel. Like it's mid distance where it's like every weekend you do have to pack a bag.
Right.
But you don't have to catch a flight.
But it's still a trek.
Yeah.
How did you guys meet? And how long have you been together?
We've been together for like almost like coming up on a year.
Okay.
I can't even remember. So I haven't even talked about this on my show.
Oh my God.
Everybody who's coming over from Psychology of 20s is going to get insight.
They're getting the tea.
We met on Hinge. We met on Hinge in Bali.
What?
which is so random. Yeah. He wasn't in Bali, but for some reason I was in Bali. Everyone on my list was like Bali, Bali, Bali. And he wasn't from Bali. I didn't even notice. He wasn't in Bali. And we matched, and he was the only guy I talked to. I went on this trip. Do you want to hear the story?
Yes.
Okay. I went on this trip, and it was with a bunch of friends of mine. 50% of them are in like end game relationships, marriage.
At 24?
Oh, they're kind of older.
Okay.
Like 27, 28.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like end game relationships. Like, we're going to get married. We live
Yeah.
together, blah, blah, blah. The other half had just been through the most traumatic breakups of their lives. I'm talking like the horror story that is told throughout the friendship group, like cheating, drug-induced psychosis, eviction notices, like just crazy stuff. And I was kind of in the middle. I was like, I'm a year out of my last relationships. I'm still kind of heartbroken. And then I ran into one of my ex's friends, and I hadn't seen anyone from that like part of my life for like a year. And it was like, there was this wound that I hadn't realized was like very, very infected. And it was like someone just like jabbed it, and just like everything like exploded. It was like this huge emotional catharsis. And the next day I started talking to my current partner, and it was so weird. I was like, I just never thought about that other guy again. I was like,
And
right.
did you ever figure out how you matched with him? Like, was it a glitch?
We were trying to figure this out. So like, no idea, because he doesn't even live near me. So like, even if my location setting was like somehow from like where my phone was based, or like from a previous setting or something, like previous time I'd had it in Sydney, he wasn't even from where I lived. He was from Wollongong. So it was like super weird how this happened. We never figured it out. I feel like we can say it's fate. I'm sure
It's
that like
totally fate.
someone from Hinge is going to get in touch and be like, sorry, we're going to fix that bug.
You know what? You would think they would, but I've had so many people come on here and say they met on Hinge and they never reach out. Like,
Really?
they don't need it, I guess. They're
Wow.
just too cool for us.
Maybe I should have said it was like a really small dating app.
Uh-huh.
Could have given them some free
Plug
promo.
small business.
Yeah, like a small business.
That's hilarious. So, okay, love that. So you guys met on Hinge. And what's his sign? Tell us.
Oh my gosh, I actually don't know. Wait,
Well, tell me his birthday and I'll tell you.
the 8th of April.
Oh, he's an Aries.
Oh, okay. Does that?
I love an Aries Pisces match.
Is it good?
It's very like complimentary
Oh, thank
because
God.
you guys are so different, but like similar.
We actually are very different
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
It's really interesting, but like something that I think I didn't realize. I feel like I've been dating for a while. I like graduated high school when I was like 16 and like moved to uni really before I turned 18. Like moved out of home, moved out of state, which is like super rare in Australia. And it was, yeah, I know. I was just like, boyfriends. I want a boyfriend, and I want to date. And I want to have sex with men. And I feel like I dated all these people, and I never realized how much values really matter.
Oh yeah.
It's like I'm figuring something out that everyone else has figured out already, but like.
No, you're figuring it out pretty early. Like, I didn't figure that out until I was like 29.
Oh, well, you're still here where you are now. I feel like it's just like sometimes I wish I'd had a bit more fun, but I'm like,
Yeah. But
like,
you seem just like an old soul,
Thank
like
you.
in terms of just the way that you carry yourself and like what you're able to share with your listeners and things like that. So it makes sense that you would be in this thing that is like healthy and normal and
Hope so.
figured out what a healthy and normal relationship is at 24, when most people at 24 are in the opposite situation.
thing.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know, maybe not in Australia.
Well, maybe just not amongst my friends. I figured something out recently. All of my friends are eldest daughters.
Oh, okay. So I saw your post on eldest daughters.
Really? Okay.
And it's funny because I've seen a lot of content on the internet right now about being the oldest child and
Yeah.
like the burdens and this and that. I'm the youngest. So I
Interesting.
obviously am like always personally attacked by these posts. And I'm like, no, it's harder for the younger one. But it is really interesting to hear. And all of my friends are youngest as well.
Okay, there's a study on this that I found.
Tell us all.
I can't find I cannot remember the actual like statistic, but they did research on this. This is like a whole field of research. It's called birth order theory.
Oh,
Created. It was found by this guy, Alfred Adler. He also coined the term inferiority complex, like a bunch of other things. He just like all those weird psychobabble terms, you can trace them back to this guy. And he did all this research in this and he did this study and he was like, majority of the time, the majority of your friends are going to be in the same place in the birth order as you. And I was like, no, that's not true. Sat down, was like, eldest daughter, eldest daughter, eldest daughter. And then all my male friends, like eldest son or youngest, like
It's crazy.
never middle child.
It's crazy.
I refuse to have middle child friends. It's actually a personal choice.
Oh, really? I have one. She's great.
Oh,
She's the triple Gemini. But I get it. I get
Wow.
being hesitant to middle children. And I guess like this theory just amazes me. Did you ever find any research on if it like translates to relationships as well? Or is it just friendships?
Oh no, relationships as well. This is a little bit more shaky. And I'm always like hesitant to share this, like some of these, because anybody can come up with the term and do a experiment. So this one's more of that kind of thing where they were like more of an experiment rather than research. But someone did look into this. I'm going to ask you, is your partner, where are they in the birth order?
So my husband is the oldest and I'm the youngest.
I knew you were going to say that. I was like, I was betting money in my brain, gambling with myself. It's huge. My partner, youngest son, youngest son. And it is that thing where it's like, you want like the yin and yang works out really well, where it's like you want someone who balances out like your need for control or your anxiety or like your lack of planning, their organization, your perfectionism, their spontaneity. Like it makes a lot of sense.
But you know what's really interesting? So I agree with you. I think the oldest and the youngest together in a relationship, amazing.
Yeah.
I also think that two eldest can be in a relationship.
Oh, absolutely.
But I don't think that two youngest can.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny because I'm thinking about my younger sister and I'm trying to imagine her dating, marrying, whatever, someone else who was the younger sibling. And I just think that would be chaos.
Chaos.
It would be World War III.
Both, it's all about you guys. And like you were like the one who got like all the things and didn't have to like do the trial and error and
less rules normally as well.
Less rules, like everyone looked the other way, whatever. And so you both are just too I don't want to know if difficult's the right word, but just too.
I just think like you're like a live
special.
Flame.
Right.
You're a live flame. It's just like, whoa. And you kind of need like someone who's going to be willing to like really not hold it in, but really like flow with that.
Totally.
Like nurture the flame.
Yes, 1000%. So I want to talk a little bit about being in your 20s. Do you consider yourself Gen Z?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay.
Don't really think about it that much. What's the other option? Like not millennial?
No, it's like millennial would be me. So I'm 33.
Yeah.
And then I think it begins Gen Z at what, like 26?
Yeah. And then so what am I?
So I guess you would be Gen Z.
Yeah, but I'm 20.
But you're 24. Yeah. No, so 26 and like.
Below.
I think below. I don't know. And then like, what's the one after Gen Z? Like younger than Gen Z.
Gen
Y? No, that's the older. Gen
A. Start again. Know. Well, I guess by the time we're back to the start of the alphabet.
Right.
We need to figure that out.
We need to figure that out.
Someone's going to be listening to this being like screaming at their phone.
I know. Well, Remy, if you figure it out, holler at us. But being in, let's call it Gen Z for now.
Yeah.
What do you think, and I know it's a little harsh to even phrase it like this, but what do you think 20-year-olds, like people in their 20s, right, are doing wrong in dating?
This is such an interesting question. Okay, I have an answer. I think what we're doing wrong is that it's so fascinating. It's not always that deep. I think that sometimes we try and read way too much into other people's behaviors, their actions, everything they do, they don't do, every small signal that they send us. And it's not that deep sometimes, which is, I think, funny coming from me because I am always looking for the deepest possible explanation and all the science. But what I realized was I was like, if someone doesn't like you, they don't like you. If they're not responding to your messages, they're not interested. It's not like, oh, they're not responding because of this factor and this contextual thing that they don't understand, or because of fate, or because of this or that, or whatever. Like, it's sometimes you just need to like see the cards like as they've been laid and stop trying to look in their hand. You know what I mean? Like, stop trying to interpret and psychoanalyze everything that someone else is doing, and just accept what they're showing you as like, that is, you know what I mean? Like, that is my answer.
I couldn't agree more. And I always say, if you're confused about how they feel about you, they're not interested in you.
Yeah.
But it's much easier said than done. Like,
I know.
we're sitting here on like our relationship pedestals and we're like, well, you should know that they're not interested in you. But I'm sure both of us have been in the situation where we've been looking for excuses for them. Oh, they're so busy with work. What do you mean? They work in finance. They have no time to respond to me. When they do respond, it's because they really like me, blah, blah, blah. But that is so real. I wonder if you think that with TikTok and just Instagram the way that it is, and all of these relationships being like just overanalyzed, scrutinized, like even something as small as like couch guy or whatever. Do you know what I'm talking? Do you remember that trend on TikTok?
Yes.
Like,
he walked in the door.
Yeah. And he had like his arm around another girl.
See, it's not that deep. He's cheating on you.
Right. Like, I feel like you see that as someone who's dating and very impressionable and like hasn't had a lot of relationships, and you almost like get scared to look dumb or scared to, I just feel like, so I have cousins who are, one is 21 and one is 24, and they haven't really had like relationships. But when I was that age, I feel like I had already had like my first love, like my big heartbreak, like this and that. And I'm just hearing more often than not, it's less like relationship culture and more situationship culture.
Absolutely. I think you ask any person like in their 20s, like when they're like, if they've been in a situationship, they'll be like, oh yeah, 100%. The majority. Because I think that there has been like so many cultural and like just like societal technological shifts in the last like 2 decades, even the last decade, that have overloaded the usual blueprint for dating.
Yeah.
And the one I always talk about is obviously dating apps, right? Like, dating apps have done something to our brains that like needs to be studied and has been studied. And it's this idea called choice overload. So basically, how we've like adapted to live and be is to have a limited number of choices. You know what I mean? Like, we were in a small environment. We had a tribe, a pack of like 50 people, maybe max 200. We ate the same thing. We saw the same, you know, kind of scenery, and it was all very like pattern based. And so it was really easy for our brains to make decisions in those moments. It's slowly expanded. And then when we've introduced things like online shopping is a really big one as well. And then things like dating apps. When you go on a dating app, you have thousands of options, especially in big cities like New York or London or Sydney, like so many options. And what that does is it actually paralyzes your ability to make a decision, because you're constantly thinking, what if there is something better out there? They did this study at Stanford University. It's my favorite study ever done. It's called the Jam experiment. They went to a farmer's market. The first day they had 24 jams. The second day they had 6. And they wanted to say like how many people bought jam. And they all of them were saying like, when there's 24 jams, more people are going to buy jam because they have more options. We're appealing to more people's tastes. But that was not correct. Like, more people bought jam when they only had 6 options, because it was easier for them to make a decision. They didn't have to weigh up like the cost benefit, the pros and cons of every decision that they made. And we're seeing that a lot with things like dating apps, where it's like, why would I settle? Why would I choose this one person when there's like all these other options that could be better for me? So I'm just going to like keep you on the side and wait for something better to come along.
It's so true. And we also didn't used to have, I mean, you basically touched on this, but like access to that many people in general. Like you think about our parents' parents, it was their neighbor or their cousin's friend.
Someone they met at work.
Yeah. Someone they, go to the same coffee shop as, like high school. You reconnect with these people like later in life. And and now it's way too many choices. I mean, I always use the example of when I pack for a trip and I use like my checked bag versus a carry-on bag, I'm bringing so much that I can't put together an outfit for the life of me. But if I bring a carry-on only and only like one white shirt and a few different pants, I can come up with a different outfit every night.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, but when I have too much, it's crippling. Like
I'm not doing that right now.
Yeah.
But a huge suitcase. I've worn this outfit 4 times.
Right, because you're like, weeks. I'm too stressed to choose other things.
I'm like, I like what I know.
Uh-huh.
That's how the human brain likes to work.
Yeah.
It's so interesting. Like you actually said something before that was like really has got me thinking of like looking at, the easier said than done thing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Because like we are on like the relationship pedestal where it's like, just do it the way that we did it and you'll find love. Like, and I also think that it's the thing with dating apps where a lot of people are like, well, you've got to delete the dating apps, or you've got to like meet someone naturally, or you need to be dating as much as possible. And that's like another component of this where it's like everyone is trying to sell you like the right answer, and everyone's trying to be like, you need to do this, you need to do that. Like everyone's telling you a story about like how to meet the one when everyone has their own story. And it's just like, I think we're all looking for like a formula and an equation to like find that happiness that we want. And it's like never going to work. And that's like part of that as well, I think.
Yeah, it's so unique. And I also love in your story with your now partner that you were saying like a day before you still felt like vulnerable, you still felt like a little heartbroken, and someone might hear that and be like, that's no time to date, but I couldn't disagree more. I think that if you find someone greater than whatever you're feeling at the time and like going through, you can easily move on. Like I hate when people are like, you need to be totally healed and loving yourself when you find your partner. That's not necessarily true.
It's not true at all. And like, I will say, like, I had been a year. It was just like all these emotions were brought back up.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like, again, it's a rule. There's all these rules. Like, I really disagree with that you have to be fully healed before getting into a new relationship. Obviously, there's like a certain level of like work that you need to do. But someone said this to me the other day. It's like when you get into a relationship, there's just going to be a bunch of junk on the floor, emotional junk. Each of you is going to bring so much baggage, and you have to sit there and be like, okay, this is your junk. You take care of that. This is my junk. And you slowly clean the floor, right? You slowly like make a path forward for you both. And I feel like even if you're completely healed from your past relationship, like there'll be other things. They'll be like, oh, conflict with a friend that like makes you distance from them. Or like, there's so many little things that are always going to be like the junk on the floor. And it's just about like choosing what you're going to take accountability for and like work through with that other person. And that never impacted our relationship. Like I was done over that person. I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's true.
No, I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe it. I also have to out myself a little bit in that I do like rules, but not those rules. I don't like rules of when you can start dating again.
Yeah.
And this, I like rules for once you do find this person. Like, how some people will be like, there's nothing I could say that would push away the right person for me. I'm just like, that's not true.
What?
Right. Like that's like manipulative almost. Like, let me, self-sabotage by saying like, I got cheated on in every relationship. So if you do that to me, like just like things like that, or, just like incessant texting when you're first meeting someone, like that's where my rules kind of come in. Cause I'm like,
I agree with that.
Still, actually. Like we're first getting to know each other. Our cards don't need to be on the table immediately. And I think that some people will have like a toxic, like opposite response to that. And I see this in my 21-year-old I don't know if she's Gen Z or
Cousin.
the Gen
Yeah.
that
Niece?
we haven't figured out. What?
Is she your niece or your cousin?
No, she's my cousin.
Your
She's
cousin.
basically my little sister.
Oh, cute.
And I see it and she'll be like, I'm just going to text him a million times. And if he doesn't respond, like he's not the one for me. And I'm like, no,
What?
like that's not how it works. You still, you still have to, if your goal is for him to like and respect you, you still got to like play the game a little bit until it gets to the point where you're both like out of the woods.
And it's also like,
yeah.
So it was years?
What?
The years you were asking about?
Oh, like what?
oh yeah, Gen Z.
Yeah.
So Gen Z is 97 to 12.
And what's right before?
That is, what is that, Gen X? I think.
Does it start again with X?
Millennials is right before Gen Z.
That's you.
No, but what's younger than Gen Z?
What's
Alpha.
Alpha?
So you were right.
Alpha.
Technically. A.
Yeah, I guess
Alpha.
we're starting again.
Okay.
Omega, Delta,
Now we know.
Beta.
Yeah,
Wait,
now
so-
it's going through the degree class.
So what
Oh,
year
okay.
are you born?
2000. Oh,
Oh, so you're
so-
technically Gen Alpha.
no, not like, yeah.
No, Z.
Z.
Okay.
So 2012 to like now is Gen Alpha.
Oh, okay. Okay. So like the tiny people.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
tiny bit. You're going to have an alpha baby.
Oh my God. Wait, is it going to be an alpha baby?
Or a beta baby. Hopefully it's an alpha baby.
I hope it's an alpha baby. In 2024, is that alpha?
I believe
9 years.
So.
Okay.
You're
Yes.
just making the cutoff. So Alpha is like to 24 or 25. They haven't decided yet.
Oh, I hope they decide.
I hope they
in our
figure
favor.
it out.
Yeah.
Alpha baby. Oh my God.
Uh-huh.
That's so cute.
That's amazing.
But the rules.
yeah. So
I feel like also you've got to respect someone else's boundaries. Like,
yes.
you can't just be like, I'm going to blow this up and see if it settles in my favor.
Totally. Yeah. No, it's all about the
Like,
boundaries.
yeah.
All about the boundaries. Something that you posted about, which I purposely didn't look up because I'm like, Jemma will explain it to me and I will
Sorry.
understand it better than looking it up. Lucky girl syndrome.
Oh my gosh.
What is this?
Okay, so this was a trend on TikTok last year. And it started with, I think it was, I don't know my TikTok history. Someone might correct me, but it started with this video of these two girls and they were sitting in a car and they were like, I'm a lucky person. And they were just like repeating these affirmations. It's like, if you tell yourself you're a lucky girl, good things will happen to you. It's still on TikTok now where it's like, there will be these audios that are like, money comes to me easily, money comes to me fast, or like lucky girl audios that are meant to like change your life in like 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea is like, if you think that you're lucky, good things will happen to you. The universe wants to reward people who are grateful. And I heard about this and there was all these people being like, I believed this and then suddenly I got my dream job. I believed this and suddenly I got a boyfriend, or I got this promotion, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, if everybody, I have this saying, like, if there is an experience, like, if everybody is having the same experience, there has to be a red string. There has to be something that ties them together. And so I looked into it and I was like, I don't think that like manifestation is real in the sense of like the universe is conspiring to bring you good things. I think that manifestation is all about you and how your unconscious beliefs impact how you treat others, how you behave, even like the kind of energy you put out and put into things. And so this lucky girl syndrome, I was like, when you speak those positive words to yourself and you say like, I am so magnetic, I am so attractive, I am so lucky, it creates what we call in psychology of this self-fulfilling prophecy, or a confirmation bias is another, that kind of go hand in hand, where it's like, now you're constantly looking for instances, experiences that confirm that initial belief that you are lucky, because you want to believe that, because you convince yourself that manifestation does work. Or you have the self-fulfilling prophecy where, because you believe that you're magnetic, because you believe that you are deserving of all these things, that good things are going to happen to you, you naturally act in a way that is actually going to bring those about. So for example, you start speaking up more in the office. You start like making eye contact with people on the street more. Like you start like being confident enough to have like conversations with people or take a risk. And that's what creates like these outcomes that people attribute to like some magnetic force. But really it's like you did that. I think it's really
I
Really
love that.
cool.
I think that's a great syndrome to have. It
Yeah.
kind of reminds me of, have you ever seen Office Space?
No, what is this?
It's like it probably has like a 0 on Rotten Tomatoes, but it's an amazing movie that came out, I want to say in the 90s. And it was about this guy who worked a very boring desk job.
Mm.
And like everyone was the same. It was like super mundane. And then I don't know if something happens to him or like whatever, but he ends up getting like basically knocked on the head
Mm.
and in some way or another, and he becomes this guy who just like doesn't give a fuck, and he's like at the office like talking back to his boss and this and that, and people react so well to his like newfound confidence that like
Yeah.
he gets a raise and he gets this and he gets that and like gets the hot girl, and it's like just him
Yeah.
like just acting a little bit different, but he thinks he's like under this spell, but he's kind of just like really woken up.
I love that. And it's true. Like
Mhm.
I'm gonna watch that. I'm gonna make I've just said is Tom. I'm gonna make Tom watch it with me.
You have
again,
to, and I
watch
want to
it.
hear what
Yeah.
you guys think.
I'm gonna watch it because I really believe this. I have this theory that I like kind of came up with called the golden bubble theory, where it's like, okay, wait, now I'm saying that I made this up. Maybe I heard it somewhere. It's a theory that I like really hold deep, and I've been thinking about it for a long time. If you ever like don't feel confident enough to do something, you have to, I want you to like imagine this like big golden orb like expanding out of you, getting bigger and bigger with like each breath, and it comes to like fill the entire room around you. It holds everybody in it, and it's just this big golden bubble of like good things, and anybody who is hit by this golden bubble like immediately likes you. And I always like do this whenever I have to meet new people, where I'm just like 3 deep breaths, the golden bubble. And I feel like it's,
love that.
anybody, like, it really works.
I'm totally doing that from now on.
Do it when you give birth.
I
Everybody
will.
loves-
No, I will.
you
I've already like had a friend make me feel so good about birth because I
Really?
shared this recently on a podcast. Not that you have to think about this anytime soon, or maybe you never
I'm
want
really
to.
excited to give birth. one
Okay,
day, so
good. So
it's a weird
then
thing.
this will get you excited, and hopefully you'll remember this forever.
Yeah.
She told me that on the day that you give birth, you are the most important person in the world. And like everything revolves around you, because like in the hospital, they're like talking about you on walkie-talkies. Like, I have the mother, I have like this,
my
like I'm making sure, And so it's like this euphoric moment where like, other than on your wedding day, you are the most special person.
Yeah.
And like, it's this feeling of just like, oh my God, I am so cool. I'm so amazing. Like everyone like hypes you up. And I'm sure it's even more so in Australia because like the healthcare is just better than ours.
It's pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
So you're just
say.
going to feel like you're floating.
Yeah.
Other than the pain, obviously.
Are you excited? So I'm going to become the interviewer.
No.
Are you excited?
I'm so excited, actually. I had a very vivid dream last night that he was like here, and
Oh my gosh.
it was crazy. But I didn't see
Oh.
what he looked like, but but he was here. And like, I had this like weird, like I was like sweating in the dream because I had like just like pushed and given birth, but I was like this like warrior type person. It's the dreams that you have pregnant are insane.
I'm
Insane.
already, so I don't want to have a baby anytime soon. I'm all good. I'm just doing other things.
Mm-hmm.
But since I was like maybe 12, we had to watch this birthing video for school, and everyone was like, ew, that's so gross. And I was like, I was made to do that. I had this vivid memory of watching it and being like, I don't think I was made to be a mother, but I was made to do whatever that is. Like,
Yeah.
I want to know what that feels like to bring another human into the world.
Wild.
I know. I'm like, and I think it would be like really sad if I couldn't have kids of my kids via like, I don't know, like a natural birth or like,
yeah.
or like I was infertile or something. Like, I think, and not to never do that would be so upsetting for me personally. There's so many other ways to like have kids.
No, of
right?
course.
Because it's like childhood idea of
I get
needing to
that.
know.
I think that's like such a cool thing to look forward to, because a lot of people don't look forward to it. I also think that like if you're sitting around being like, oh, men have it better, like maybe they do in some ways, right? But they never will create life.
They can't do it. Well,
They
and
can't.
that some like men can, but like in a different like way. You know what I mean? Like,
Kind of.
well, like there's like obviously like there's transgender men who would
Okay.
be able to
Yes,
do it.
yes, yes.
But I mean like people who are like born male continue to be male.
Sure.
I'm just like, God, you're missing out.
You're useless, bro.
Yeah. What the heck? You like can build a building that looks like a big phallic shape. That's a baby and I freaking made that. Like that would just be insane.
It's insane. I mean, of course we need them a little bit, but just for the sperm.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay, when you think about millennials, if you ever do,
Yeah.
what do you wish? And this is, or no, okay, I'm going to ask the second part of the question because it's more positive spin. What do you envy about our dating styles, if anything?
Oh, interesting.
Because a lot of our listeners are millennials and I want them to be like, okay, we're not so bad.
So I actually have some friends. This is so funny. I've got friends who are millennials.
You're like, I have old friends.
No, them no. That was so bad. No.
You're like, I actually know people who are old.
I know people who are over 30. Isn't that insane? It's wild. But I have some. Okay, I need to chill now. I'm making myself up. I have some friends who are over 30. They got married recently, and I was just like, so it was when I was single when it happened. I was so fascinated by like their love story. I was like, and so he just asked you out, and you said yes, and then you just like you were dating after 3 weeks, and did he ask you to be? Oh, he did. Oh. And it was like this weird thing I'd never experienced before where it was like so intentional. And I think that it's something I really admire. And it's something actually, yeah, I really admire in the sense of it's like, all right, I already kind of know what I like. I have an idea of like what my priorities are. I'm not going to beat around the bush. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, you want to waste my time for 5 years and like, we'll just have fun and you don't have to date me, but you can like meet my mom and whatever. Like, there's none of that. And I think that that's really important. And I'm not saying like people who are like my age should be doing that because I think it's like a time and a place where it's like when you get to that point, you're like, okay, I know what I want. I really admire that. I wish that like I'd had more of that when I was dating a bit younger.
Yeah.
When I was younger and dating.
Yeah, it's interesting because when I was your age and younger, I remember just wanting to be like, wanting to be seen when I said to people my parents' age, like, yeah, and I have this like great boyfriend. And they were like, oh, that's so sweet.
Yes.
Oh, young
Yeah.
love. But like they never took it seriously. And I feel like now in my 30s, like it's not a joke. Like it's finally
like-
taken seriously. But that was like all I wanted for so long when I was young.
Yeah.
Like not people looking down on me being like, oh, your first love.
Oh my
How
God, though.
cute.
My first love was so tragic
Like,
that
we'll
I'm
see
like,
if that lasts through
Yeah.
college.
oh my God. And
Joke's on me.
like, did it?
It didn't.
I was like,
It did it
"Whoa."
for you?
No.
Yeah.
I met him a year ago.
Yeah, yeah.
I heard my first love is doing well though.
Yeah.
I'm sure he was a nice guy. Well, good first love, you know? Like
Mhm.
it was, I feel like, were you lucky? Did you have a good first love?
He was great until he wasn't, you know?
They always do that.
Yeah. I just feel like, and it's interesting because I could take this narrative and be like, until he cheated on me and he's a cheater. But I really just think that like
Yeah.
cheating is very common when you're that young because like you don't know that, like you're just meeting people for the first time in your life.
Yeah.
You don't like understand relationships. Not justifying people who cheat when they're like,
No, I know what you mean.
you know, 18, but like it's hard. It's way harder to be loyal than to be loyal now as a real adult, you know?
Well, it's this thing where it's like, I don't think empathy fully develops until you're like 24, 25.
Yeah, that is a fact.
Like your frontal lobe doesn't really like
Mhm.
totally clock it.
So you're like, well, I didn't do anything wrong. Like I was
Yeah.
drunk. It was like proms, like next night. I don't know.
That's your whole story.
No.
You know, I was like, oof.
Oh my God, prom would be brutal. No, it wasn't
Yeah.
prom. It wasn't prom, thank God.
Could
But you know what I mean, like
your
the
origin story.
literally my what is it, villain origin story? Oh, that is my villain origin story though.
Really?
Like just like getting cheated on by my first love for sure. Yeah,
Oh, okay, good. Well,
Yeah.
here you are now. So obviously, can't be like good things.
everything everything that anyone did that was bad to me relationship wise is part of the story, you know?
I totally agree. Had dinner with a friend last night and I hadn't seen her in like 2 years, and it was like had to like open up the book and be like, and this man, and then this man, and then I met this guy, and then this guy was here for a while, but he left, and it was this weird thing where I was like, gosh, I'm so glad that happened.
Right.
Like I got my heart like brutally broken, and I was like, that was the best thing that ever happened to me, because I wouldn't have moved like to Sydney. I wouldn't have moved. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have started my podcast. None of this would have happened if it wasn't for him. So I should probably cut him a check at some point.
Literally, I completely agree. I completely agree. Like, if not for all of these villains, I would not be where I was. I had no regrets. No regrets.
Neither. It's crazy because in the moment you're like, I'm so devastated. And then you get to a point where you're like, God, that really did need to happen.
Of course.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it now.
Yeah. I love that. Wow. I didn't realize time
it's
is
4:30.
flying. So
have some water.
Let me have some water. Let me choose my last question or two, even though I want to ask so many things. Okay, this one's a little controversial, but I'm curious, especially considering the name of your podcast and the nature of your podcast. Do you think that people in their 20s are overusing therapy?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I did an episode on this recently called Can You Be Too Self-Aware? And I think that any therapy is like, okay, I'm going to say this in the way that I want to say it. I'm going to cut here. I think that therapy is amazing. It's a great tool. It is like, I think it should be essential. I think that it should be provided the way that dental is provided. In it, like, you know what I mean? Like as much a part of like our healthcare system as like a regular dentist checkup is like regular therapy. But I also think that there comes a point where sometimes you just need to do the work. Do you know what I mean? Like you can have someone tell you what you need to do for as long as possible. You could have someone constantly giving you answers, letting you talk it out. There comes a point where you actually have to be like, all right, like there are changes I need to make that I'm going to just have to do myself without needing a complete solid answer. Like I think a lot of the time people go into therapy expecting that it's going to immediately fix all their problems, and also expecting that they're going to come out and be like, well, this is exactly why this happened and that's why this happened, and I just need to do this in order to feel better. And it's like, actually, unfortunately, that's not how it goes. And so going into it and thinking that like finding a new term for everything, finding a new explanation, constantly using psychobabble, all that stuff is like actually just going to put you more in a pit of like, I actually don't feel I can get out of this. I don't feel like I actually have the tools because I'm overwhelmed by all the tools. So I think it's great. I think it's amazing. But it does come a point, like I said, where you have to be like, how are we going to go? Where are we going from here? Like, what do I actually need to change in my life? What do I actually need to take accountability for, maybe? And what are some of the things that I have to just come to terms with the fact that I will never have an answer. Right. They probably won't ever be fixed. That person will never apologize. I can't undo the past. And find a way to like come to terms with that.
I think that's so well said. I think if you have had a therapist, the same therapist, let's say for 3 years, and you haven't done anything actionable throughout that time that you've complained about a lot, then like, what are we doing here?
Find a new therapist. Like, because I also think like, I obviously studied psychology, and I think that that's actually not great from your therapist, psychologist, counselor, psychiatrist if they're letting you stay stagnant for that long. And I know that their caseloads are like so crazy, so maybe they don't even realize, but 3 years or like an extended period of time, I think we can just get stuck in a real mental loop of just looking for an explanation and then looking for another explanation. And like in this episode where we talk about like, can you be too self-aware? I think at some points it actually makes you more unhappy. It's like more answers doesn't necessarily lead to more happiness. It might actually lead to more questions.
Yeah, agreed. Oh, I don't want to stop. There's so many questions I can ask you, but I guess that can be the last one before we do a little rapid fire.
Okay, go.
Um,
That was so fun. My gosh, I literally didn't. This has been such a nice little chat.
oh, I'm so glad. Okay, so we asked these poll questions on our Instagram story, and I'm just going to ask you a few.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Okay. All right. Is it ever okay to ask your significant other to block someone? Yes or no?
Oh my gosh. You can ask, but I don't think that they need to say yes.
I agree. But I don't think you should ask.
You don't think you should ask?
I don't know.
I wouldn't. But like, I feel like if it's really,
If it's someone that like threatened your family, but like if it's just a hot girl that you're like,
oh yeah,
jealous
I
of.
wasn't thinking. Hot
Yeah,
girl.
yeah.
I was thinking like toxic ex who like you need a restraining order against.
Oh yeah, then
Go for
block
it.
the shit out of them.
Yeah.
Do you think it's better if a guy is a consistent texter but asks to schedule dates last minute, or schedules dates a few days ahead of time but you'll go a few days without talking at all?
Second one for sure. I think quality time is so much more important. I like don't really text with my partner because now we do, but like because we're not together. But I think that like when you can really see them as who they are, like in person, it's so much more important quality.
Yeah. Would you rather date someone who is weird but leaves an impression, or who is cool but intimidating?
Oh my God, weird that leaves an impression. Oh my God, I love those kinds of people. What is cool
Me
and
too.
I just hate when people, I don't think anybody should ever be left intimidated.
Especially by someone they're dating.
Yeah, absolutely not. And imagine like you like bring him to a party and everyone's like, "What'd you think? What'd you think of him?" Yeah, he was intimidating.
Right. That's
Like,
awful.
I'd be like, "What does that mean?" Like,
Yeah.
it's giving high school bully energy.
Would you rather your partner be described as boring or stupid?
Oh my God. Well, I've had exes who've been called both. Boring.
Would you rather be described yourself as not everyone's cup of tea, or they're friends with everyone?
Oh my God. Did you come up with these?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Not everyone's cup of tea, or they're friends with everyone.
They're both so bad.
Either, I guess.
I
Oh,
like
actually,
friends
the first-
with everyone.
Oh yeah, I'm like they're both so bad, and then I'm like, actually, nothing can make you feel bad unless you let it. So
Yeah.
either of them, but probably the first one.
Not everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess because if you are everyone's cup of tea, then you're just serving some basic
It's
shit.
the same as the second they're friends with everyone. Like you're trying to mold yourself.
Right.
If you were everybody's cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting.
Would you rather get married at 30 and divorced, or get married at 45 and be together forever?
Shit. My God, you make me consider my whole life. So, you know what? Like, kind of 30 and divorced simply because of like, I would want to have kids. But then I'm also like, dang, I could just have kids with like a random guy and then meet like the love of my life at 45. But then I'm more thinking of the kids. I don't have kids.
Yeah.
But I'm
Gotta
thinking
think
about
of
the kids. Like, do I want them
unborn.
to have like divorced parents
Yeah.
or like not have a father,
Right.
present father?
Yeah. Wow. You thought deeply with that one.
Okay, I'm gonna go 45.
Okay. Respect. Would you rather be who would you rather be the crazy one in your relationship, you or your partner?
Me.
Of course. Good answer.
I want to be crazy. It's so fun.
Yeah, it's so fun.
I already am. It's great.
Would you rather have decent sex with your partner every day, or really good sex once a week?
Really good sex once a week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm tired sometimes.
Yeah. Okay, last one. Even though I could ask all of these because they're so fun. Would you rather find out your significant other has been cheating on you with multiple one-night stands, or with their ex one time?
With the ex one time.
Say your answer.
No, I'm so
You're
stuck.
taking it in. Mm-hmm.
Multiple one night stands.
Yeah.
How many? Like 5?
Yeah. At
The
least.
relationship would be over either way.
Right. So it doesn't matter.
You're not coming back from that.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to burn this to the ground. If you cheat on me, it's not happening. But yeah, maybe I'll forgive.
This has been so fun. Jemma, can you leave us with a quote or piece of advice? Something that maybe you've picked up from doing your podcast or...
Yeah. Someone said this to me the other day, and I've said it on the show already, but it's not that serious sometimes. Like, it's not that deep.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you're allowed to just have fun.
Or don't the Gen Z say don't deep it?
Don't deep it?
Yeah.
Whoa, I've never heard that, even though I have old friends. I've never heard that.
No, that's a young thing, apparently.
Oh, it's my age.
It's your age.
Oh, it's hip.
So I guess I have young friends.
Yeah, and I
And you have old
don't.
friends. And you need more.
I do need more.
I love it. Where can everyone find you, listen to the podcast, and follow you on social media?
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. This has been so fun. I feel like I've laughed the whole time. But you can listen to my show. It's called The Psychology of Your 20s, wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at That Psychology Podcast if you want to see some of the things that we talked about today, some of the content behind the scenes work.
Love it. Thank you.
Thanks.